What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the Justin Smith channel. In today's video, if you're new here to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below if you're interested in lifting trucks. So here on the channel, over the past 5-6 months, we've been doing videos on my 2006 F250, as you all just now seen. We just now finished putting on a 20-inch lift. We've drove the truck about 1,000 miles now, and that's gonna pretty much be for anyone who's wanting to lift their truck up this high. It's gonna pretty much just be a review on my first impressions. You know, this is my first truck that's ever been lifted this tall. I'm gonna be going over how it rides, how it drives, how it steers going down the road. Is it hard to keep in between the lanes? You know, being on 26x16s and 3-inch spacers, it is so wide. So obviously we're gonna go over that. We're gonna go over the wheel setup, the size, why I chose what size I went with, the size of the lift. We're gonna go over some future plans of the truck and some changes that it's about to undergo. So anyway, let's get into the video. As I said, over the last 5 or 6 months, we have had the truck completely tore apart. We put on a striker lift kit. It is currently at 20 inches of lift in the front, 14 inches of lift in the rear. That will soon change. Don't get your panties in a wad. It's not gonna stay squatted. The truck is still completely drivable. The truck is still completely usable. Yes, it is a little bit lower in the rear than it is in the front. Don't get too upset. So what we're gonna go over first is our wheel and tire setup. These are 26x16 American Force wheels on 40 1550 Fury tires, and they have 3-inch shifted industries wheel spacers on them as well, so they do stick out very, very far. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody came up and talked to me about the truck. That guy right there talked to me. Absolutely loved it. Had to talk to him. Love when people come up and talk to me about the truck. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Hold on, I'm gonna have to watch the last clip that I recorded because I forgot what I was even saying. The wheel and tire setup. So 26x16, 40-inch tires, so they are 40 inches tall on a 26x16 rim. The tire is a 1550, so it's got a little bit of stretch, you know. The edge of the wheel is right here. The tread is right there, so a little bit of stretch just keeps that nice flush sidewall. Really, really good sized tire for a 26x16, I think. Their sticker is right there. Go ahead and check them out. Shifted Industries if you're interested in some wheel spacers. These are 3-inch thick hub-centric wheel spacers made by Shifted Industries. So that does make the truck pretty wide. Pretty much the whole wheel and tire stick out past the fender, which is crazy. They just depend on where you're measuring from, but pretty much 104 inches wide going down the road, and that's wide. So you do have to be careful. Obviously, you're gonna keep your head looking out the window whenever you're this wide, whenever you're going through tight sections around curbs, stuff like that. And even though this wheel does have a 40-inch tall tire on there, you could still possibly curb the wheel, so you gotta be super, super careful. So how does the truck ride? Okay, that's a little bit of an iffy question because, like I said, the rear is coming up another 2 inches. I'm gonna be doing a 2-inch add-a-leaf in the rear, and that's gonna pick that rear end up. Like I said, we're at 20 inches of lift in the front on striker coilovers, and I will say the front of this truck rides so freaking good. Of course, the rear is still a leaf sprung F250, so it's not on coilovers all the way around. We will be doing that sometime next year, maybe the year after that. This cradle is ready for a 4-link. Just have to buy the upper arms. Not sure if I have to buy the lower arms or if those will work. And then of course the brackets and the coilovers. So right now the truck rides really, 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 really good. It has 6-inch soft ride leaf springs in the rear, and I'll be stretching those up to 8 by doing a 2-inch add-a-leaf. So it'll have 8-inch leaf springs over stock with an 8-inch block, so that'll put it at 16 inches of lift in the rear and 20 inches of lift in the front. These coilovers ride absolutely amazing. Originally, I think they were set somewhere about right here in the center. I did crank them down about 1.5 inches to get this ride height exactly where I wanted it, and that does stiffen up the ride a little bit. But like I said, I've never had them, I've never actually drove the truck with them uncranked, so I could only imagine how much better it would ride with the coilovers not cranked that much. You know, I've seen people crank these coilovers like way down to like here, you know what I mean, like go even further with them, and that's going to stiffen up your ride and preload the spring quite a bit, and that's going to make it ride a little bit worse. But even with how much I have those preloaded, just, you know, give me another inch or two of lift. Like if I take those all the way up, run them as soft as possible, that's going to be somewhere around 18 inches of lift. So I've got them cranked down probably just about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then I'm running a different bottom mount to get me right up there to 20. So the front, absolutely amazing. Rides so good in the front. You know, you hit a bump in the front, rides awesome. Leaf springs in the rear, let's face it guys, leaf springs in the rear can only ride so good. Like I said, they are the 6-inch soft ride leaf springs, so it doesn't ride awful. And if you're not going up this high in the rear, you're not even gonna have those. You know, you can do like the factory leaf springs with an 8-inch block, and that's literally gonna ride no different than factory. But from where I have the 6-inch soft ride leaf springs, they do ride pretty good. But of course, I think that it would be a lot better if it was coilovers all the way around, which we will be doing in the future. Now, some future plans for the truck, we're gonna go over right quick before we go into drivability and take this thing down the interstate at about 70, 80 miles an hour. And I'll show you all, you know, kind of how it drives and stuff. But just before we do that, I kind of want to go over a few things. All of my faceplates still have to be milled out and sent off to chrome. So those will be getting chrome plated. All the faceplates will be getting milled out and chrome plated. So it'll say Striker right here, and they'll be milled out like Striker does on the cradle, of course. On the cradle right there, all of that stuff will be milled out and then chrome plated. So all the faceplates are getting chrome plated. I'm not going to fool with polishing them, so I'm just going to go ahead and have those milled, sent off. Found a place sort of around Nashville, a little bit on the outside of Nashville, that's going to chrome plate all of that. Chrome Wizard is the company that's going to be doing all the chrome plating on the truck, so huge shout out to Chrome Wizard. We're going to give them a try, see if they do good work. Hopefully they do, because, you know, $2,300 faceplates, really hope that they do. As you can see right here, 1, 2, 3 bolts are missing. Those bolts just have to be shortened a little bit and put in place because the bolt holes don't go all the way through on those exact bolts. Okay, next up is going to be our steering stabilizer. Right here, as you can see, it says Striker. So there will be 2 shocks right here, dual steering stabilizer. I have the clamps that go onto my 2-inch DOM tie rod bar, 2-inch quarter wall with the 1.25 inch Heims. Super beefy steering setup. All 1.25 inch Heims, 1.25 inch Heims on the track bar, 1.25 inch Heims on the drag link, and on the tie rod bar. All of that was built by me and a buddy. The track bar, drag link, and tie rod bar. So we still do not have a dual steering stabilizer on the truck, and if you all know anything about suspension, you're gonna notice that something else is missing. So what else is missing is our sway bar. We have no sway bar in the front. So the sway bar links mount right there, and we still have to build the sway bar end links that are gonna go from right here up to somewhere right in here, and then, you know, it just reuses the factory sway bar with longer end links, and those will have Heim joints on each side as well. Another thing that we're missing, Striker Off-Road Sniper Series 2.5 shocks. They're going to mount right here in our PMF buckets, so they will be right there beside of the coilover. So they will mount down here where the factory shock mounts and go up and mount in here. I have adjustable shock tabs from these PMF HD buckets. Striker Series, Sniper Series coilovers, of course, everything Striker Off-Road Designs. Huge shout out to Striker Off-Road Designs. They have built one hell of a lift kit for these trucks. So on top of not having a sway bar, on top of not having a dual steering stabilizer at 20 inches of lift, on top of having 26x16s on 40-inch mud tires, on top of having 3-inch shifted industry spacers, you all would not believe how good this truck drives and rides. Like I said, I feel like the ride's gonna stiffen up a little bit in the rear whenever I do that 2-inch add leaf, because that's gonna bow that leaf spring a little bit more, stiffen it up a little bit. Other than that, I really think that this truck, I'm so happy with it. I'm not gonna crank the coilovers down any. It rides really good. We still have to powder coat the springs on the coils, on the coilovers, but I'm gonna wait until I get my add-a-leaf in, and because I'll have to have that add-a-leaf powder coated as well. So we will have that add-a-leaf powder coated, We will have the top and bottom spring on the coilovers powder coated. We will also have this bottom coilover conversion bracket powder coated, and we will also have our sway bar end links powder coated all at the same time. And Brad's gonna knock that out for us, not a big deal. And then in the rear is pretty much done other than the add-a-leaf. So literally other than the add-a-leaf, the rear is pretty much done. Okay, I'm hearing you, brother. Let's go. And also, since we're doing the video, before we go onto the interstate, a lot of people are like, oh, now it's so useless. You can't even go through the drive-thru. Yeah, Taco Bell with a curb on each side, we're probably not gonna go through it. Now, whether it would theoretically, physically fit through there, it might. Whenever you get technical about it, it might. I'm not gonna try it, but I have been through many drive-thrus. Steak and Shake, Starbucks is pretty tight, been through there. Hardee's, McDonald's, Burger King, literally every single restaurant except for Taco Bell, I feel like I have been through. So yes, you have to get out and walk into Taco Bell and order, and you can't be lazy and just go through the drive-thru, but hey, it's good exercise anyway. Go inside to get your Taco Bell, you know, get your burrito or whatever you get at Taco Bell. But anyway, since a lot of y'all don't believe me that we can still go through the drive-thru, Starbucks is right over here. We're gonna go take this baby through Starbucks. Everybody's wanting to see me get into the truck as well, so let's just set this up and I'll show you. It's not even that bad. Easy. Now, whether you could do it without the amp step, that's kind of a different story. It would be pretty hard without the amp step, but I'll do it for you guys. Should we hit it with like the run and go, like the run and jump, or I don't think that I can do it just normally. Oh, I didn't get one. Okay, now that is kind of hard. I think it would be easier just to hit him with the run and jump. Kind of sketchy. You can go on. You can go on, sir. Uh-oh, they've got the drive-thru a little bit tight today. They keep on putting these cones up trying to get me. But we're just gonna go on through here and see anyway. If we run over your cones, I'm sorry. Clearance 9 foot. Anything with 9 foot clearance, we still fit. It's close. It's tight. Probably got like 6 or 8 inches. But we are here in the drive-thru, so I'm gonna go ahead and order me something, and then I will catch you whenever we pull around this tight turn. So now let's see if we can do this. Last time I had Scott helping me. See, we're a good ways away from the cones, so I usually just whip it way to the right. We are touching the trees, no big deal. We are literally touching the trees. So now just cut him damn hard over here. We do have to drive through their bush just a little bit. Just a little bit. But hey, we're making it. Drive through their bush a little bit again. And then it's that easy, boys. So as you all just now seen and heard, the tires, they're a little bit noisy as with any mud tire. That's not at all because they're 40-inch tall. That's just how mud tires sound. Furies have a very good on-road sound. It's not as bad as it sounds in videos. I honestly feel like it's louder in videos than it is in person. But yeah, so as you've seen, I was just controlling it with one finger. You can let go of it, and like I said, I mean, I've not even had an alignment yet. So the fact that I can let go of it and it's perfectly fine for a good while, you know, obviously any bumps and stuff that you hit in the road are gonna be a little bit more sensitive, especially without that dual steering stabilizer on these bigger, wider tires. You know, it's gonna track into bumps and stuff a little bit more aggressively, I feel like. You know, I could be wrong. But I just feel like the wider profile tires are a little bit more sensitive to like big major bumps, at least without the dual steering stabilizers. So maybe the dual steering stabilizers will even eliminate that, which will be freaking awesome. But it's not at all bad to drive. It doesn't like jerk the wheel out of your hand. There's not a bunch of play. We're running the redhead steering box. So I think that probably helps. You know, the slack in the wheel, there really isn't any slack in the wheel like there used to be. Steering is so tight, all heim joints, just like I showed you. It's awesome. Like the truck just drives better than it did on my 10-inch 4-linked coil sprung. You know, obviously the coilovers, that probably helps quite a bit. But I even had heim steering back then, so I think it was mainly the steering box and then the coilover conversion made a humongous difference. So even if you don't have a 20-inch lift and you just want to do a coilover conversion, y'all can go hit up Stryker. Just tell them how much lift you want your coilovers to be. Tell them how much lift you have, and they can build you, you know, a set of coilovers for the exact valving and spring rate, and charge them and ship them out to you. All of that, and they can be specially built for your truck for however much ride height you want and the maximum amount of travel. You can even do the HD buckets like I have on literally any size lift. You can do those, and those do allow you to run a longer travel coilover. So that's always an option as well. See, like normally to be at 20 inches you'd be on like a 12-inch travel coilover, but I'm running the 14-inch travel coilovers from Stryker with those PMF HD buckets, which allow me to run pretty much an additional 2 inches of travel. So that's always good to have a little bit more travel, but it's definitely nothing that's necessary. I don't really know that there's any pros and cons to it. I don't really know a whole lot about travel and coilovers and spring rates and all that stuff. That would be a question for somebody else. And another question was parking this truck with how wide this truck is. Can you still park it in a parking spot? And the answer is yes, which I have obviously seen parking spots that aren't this wide. So a smaller parking spot, like if it's a very weird parking lot and it has super tight parking spots, like I feel like Starbucks has a little bit tighter parking spots, obviously it's gonna sit right on the lines. Like I have parked this truck in certain parking spots that literally the edge of the line is at the edge of the tire on both tires. So you're always going to have smaller parking spaces like that, but anywhere that there's a normal good sized parking spot, you will be able to park the truck still being this wide. So anyway, also big shout out to Overkill Fab, killed it on the grill. Anyway, thank you all for watching today's video. It's been a while since I've got to just do a normal like base subject video. So to get to do this, and I've had so many questions about, you know, like how's that thing drive? Like it's massive, how does it drive? And this thing is so much bigger in person. Like pictures don't do it justice. And I feel like once I get it up more in the rear, it's gonna look even bigger, because even on my squatted friends now, like I'm friends with everybody, like squatted truck, leveled truck, lowered truck, lifted truck, SEMA truck, like I'll be friends with any kind of customized truck, or even if you don't have a customized truck, like anybody who knows me knows that I talk to everybody. But like, I feel like all my squatted truck friends especially know, like anyone who's went from a squatted truck and then like they finally put their rear blocks in and lifted the rear of it, it just like, it makes it feel so much bigger lifting the rear. So I feel like once I lift the rear of this truck, like it'll just feel that much bigger. That's gonna be all for today's video. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget, comment down below what y'all want to see next. If you have any questions, don't forget, hit me up on Instagram or comment down below. Always remember, everybody starts out as a nobody, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.